Welcome to Momivate Momversations. I'm Reagan Barnes, and I'm so excited to have Whitney Ugo joining us today. Whitney,
Hello.
yay, hello. I was prepping for our episode today. I actually needed to do a little prep, even though I know you personally. So
Oh, yes.
Whitney is new to Momavate's team. We met because AmeriCorps is allowing Momavate to have Whitney as our helper, so to speak. So when she signs up for AmeriCorps, she's essentially a volunteer who earns a stipend. So that's a cool thing about AmeriCorps and how they are uh, helping those of us who are nonprofits and can't afford to hire a lot of people.
Mhm.
Um, but they also are helping on Whitney's end that she's not just volunteering her time, she's also earning that stipend. And so we say, yay, AmeriCorps.
Yes.
Their little topic like slogan is we get things done or something like that. And I just think
Love
as
that.
the person who's been running the volunteer organization and as a volunteer myself, it's so easy to not get things done. It gets lower and lower on the priority list if it's not somehow associated with earning money, right? And so
Mhm.
so Whitney is bringing the best of both worlds together and volunteering but also earning a stipend. So I think
Yes.
that's really cool.
Oh, it's
um,
wonderful.
yeah, and at Momivate, we promote motherhood, and so we try to let moms be moms. And so she has brought both of her kids to our little work days, and it's worked out so great. I love getting to know her kids, and they're seeing how well behaved they are. And when they
So fair.
aren't, it's cute because it just means they're tired. So the little OB, he's two,
Yes. Yep.
and he'll just climb up on her lap and be like, okay, guess it's time for a nap,
Yep. I think both meetings in a row right before it's like right at the 12 o'clock. No,
Yeah.
11 o'clock point. He just climbs up and is asleep.
Yep. Yep. So it's been fun. And today we get to know Whitney a little more because we're going to play 20 questions, so to speak.
Mhm.
Whether
Yes.
or not it's a full 20 that we get through or not isn't what's important. It's having fun together and just part of what we want to do with this podcast is just help moms feel part of the community, or we like to say MomUnity, and just build this sense of real moms who live real lives and have real issues that we work through, and we might not have all the answers, but we have each other and we have fun, and I think that's part of our goal.
I think you're accomplishing it for sure. So I'm excited to be here.
Another fun thing about Whitney's role is that she is the producer for the podcast. So if you, as our listeners, decide to reach out and sign up to be a guest, which we would love, then Whitney is who will take care of all that back end work, and get you all situated here. So that would be great. Everybody, sign up.
Say Whitney at momivate.org. Send me an email and let me know. We'd love to
Awesome.
have you.
Awesome. All right. So, shall we just start with kind of a general question about what kinds of hobbies and activities do you have?
Yeah, I would say I am one of those, how do I explain it? I guess with two kids, I am very busy and I don't even fully remember what downtime feels like. But
Yeah.
I truly do. I grew up in California, so I moving here to Utah realized how much of a summer girl I am. So I love to
Mm.
swim. I love swimming, and by swimming I don't mean, like Olympic swimming. I mean just sitting in water. Essentially. So I just really love to swim, and for me too, when my husband and I first started dating, something we would do every Sunday because we went to church together. So we'd go to church together, have lunch, and then we'd go on these long canyon drives. Because again, growing up in California, I didn't really have canyons where we were. And so I was going for long drives with the family, and my kids actually love being in the car. Thank goodness. They truly
That
like,
is good. Yes.
yes, it is. Getting my 2-year-old in his car seat is hard, but once he is in and the car is moving, he is super content and happy. So we just have little sing-along parties in the car and drive around. So
Oh,
we've
like
had
car karaoke, right?
yes, yes, lots of Disney music. My kids love the Wicked movie, so we've been singing along to the Wicked soundtrack since November, and it's awesome. So
That's
those
great.
are kind of my things that just bring me peace and joy.
Yeah, and like you said, it's not always an ability to take time off, but I love that you're including your kiddos in those
Yeah,
drives, and it
yes,
is nice
they're
that
my
they
fave. So I just
cooperate.
always want to be with them.
I've had a couple of kids who really don't like the car, like would scream for the whole time they were in the
No,
car. That was
oh
hard.
no,
Yeah.
that's
All
hard.
right. Let's think about your mom and what were some happy favorite memories you have together with your mom?
Yes. Okay. So my mom, which I don't know if she might be joining or she'll watch this later. But she is like truly the best person I've ever known. I love my mom. It's funny because if you ever meet my mom someday, you'll be like, I see where Whitney comes from because I am exactly like my mom, even to the point where like, we'll be together, if we're together and my brother calls my phone, she'll answer and he'll have no idea. Like we sound the same. But so I am grateful for that because she is my number one biggest example. So like she's a person I try to emulate in all aspects of my life. But something that I've always really admired about my mom is that so I have myself and I have 3 siblings. So I'm the second oldest of 4, and we are all completely different personalities, completely different interests, completely different views. And I just have always loved how my mom has not just respected what we, how we feel, what we like, what we enjoy, but she has really like supported it and, been our number one cheerleader. And she also is how do I say this right? A fierce defender of the family. My dad is it's funny because my husband and my dad are very similar. Me and my mom are very similar. So like, I guess it works out. But he
Yeah,
is, the quiet, patient, person. But my mom is definitely a very fierce defender of us. Because, my husband is from another country. And so she'd get interesting questions from people just out in the world asking her, oh, how do you feel about it? And she's like, it's great. It's wonderful. So she was always just fiercely defending. So she's a fierce supporter, a very loud cheerleader, and a very fierce defender of our family. So those are
I
some of
love
my things, but she's just the best.
it. That's so cool. I love hearing good things about people's moms.
Yes.
In fact, I had a friend, she had to cancel our walk. We walk together twice a week. And she had to cancel because she was going to go up to Idaho for a funeral. And I, I just had to confess, I actually really like funerals. I feel like that's when you hear the best things about people, or the funny
That's
stories.
true.
And I just it gives me like, okay, if I want people to say good things at my funeral, I better, figure out how to be.
Yes,
So
that is
I
so
find them
true.
rather inspiring to
Yes.
hear
I like
those
that
things.
perspective. That's awesome. That's awesome.
All right. Let's see. Where is your favorite place to travel?
Yeah, so we did honestly did not do a ton of like traveling when I was younger. But I guess my very nostalgic place is Disneyland. We would, have the season passes, and it's funny because where I'm in Utah, it's a similar drive from where I grew up to Disneyland. So it's funny. So I'm like, oh, I'm from California. Like, oh, that must have just been 45 minutes. So it's a 9-hour drive, but we'd go probably 2 times a year. And my grandparents, especially like my dad's parents, were big Disney people. Their whole house was just like Disneyland, Mickey Mouse. And so I would say for me, that's like my most nostalgic place I love to
Happiest place on
travel.
earth.
It
Yeah,
is truly the happiest place on earth. And so I love Disneyland. And I also just love a beach. Anywhere with a beach is happy place for me.
I love it.
Yes.
All right. Can you name a couple items that are on your bucket list?
Yes. Okay. So speaking of traveling, these are two, I guess they're both kind of traveling. So again, I said my husband is from another country. So he's from Nigeria. So number one item on my bucket list is to travel with him to Nigeria to see where he grew up and to just really, especially to bring the kids along and so they can see that culture and I can see that culture. And then I can meet my in-laws in person and give my mother-in-law and father-in-law and brothers and sister-in-laws, actual real life hugs instead of via video call. And just to see where he came, where he grew up would be awesome.
That heritage. Yeah.
Yes, yeah. Because I feel like it's one thing to see it on the TV, or to Google Nigeria, and I'm like, okay, I kind of have an idea, but actually being there and embracing it will be a completely different ball game. I apologize. And then I don't even know again if I've told you this, but I'm a really big fan of Formula One racing.
Wow.
Very big fan. My husband and I, we watch it, and it's the one thing if we put it on, Obi will sit and watch the 2.5 hour race because
Oh,
he
wow.
is obsessed. You've seen him run around with his little Ferrari car, so he loves it. And so I really love the Ferrari team, so I really want to go to a Grand Prix in Monza in Italy. So that would
Okay.
be two of mine, but it's just to go to the I mean, obviously not just to go to the Formula One race, but a big part of it would go to the race. I'll go anywhere, but Italy would be number one choice.
I grew up in Indianapolis where the Indy 500
Oh,
is, but I
yes.
don't know if that has to do with Formula One. I'm not familiar enough with, no,
No.
there's no
Mm-mm.
connection there.
Yeah. I mean, it's all kind of all racing, but yeah, Formula One, it's like all over the world, like the whole entire globe. All the drivers are from other countries, and it's more like go-karting versus,
Okay.
if that makes sense.
Okay. Well, I
Mhm.
figured there was probably some way that it's,
Yes, it's all
fine.
some form of
So,
auto racing.
yeah, yeah. But yeah, so you can tell even though I grew up there, I really wasn't familiar with the
So
with the Indy
sweet.
500. So, all righty, let's see. If you had to have the same meal for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Oh, sushi.
Ooh, okay.
I love sushi, all different types of sushi. I
Have you
don't
ever
make.
tried making it?
I went to a church activity once and we tried to make it and
Oh, fun.
mine was not great. So yeah, I wish I could make it, but yeah, I'm not. But that is
Mhm.
I do love
Sushi.
it.
Nice.
Maybe
All
it's
right.
because it's the one thing I really, because I'm actually a pretty decent cook, but it's the one thing I can't do. So maybe that's why it's my favorite.
Yeah, make it special to go get some sushi.
Yes.
Um, do your family members like sushi, or would they have to have their
Hmm.
own meals for the rest? Oh, well,
Yeah.
that works
Even
out.
my 2-year-old, like will order it for me just, if like when is traveling to Nigeria, when I was sad when he left, I was like, I'm ordering myself sushi. Oh, we ate almost an entire one of my sushi rolls by himself.
Oh,
Okay,
yeah,
sure.
that's impressive. All right. Okay. What is one item that you can't live without?
Mm. I feel like, I mean, this is an obvious one, but my glasses, because
Me
I
too.
am pretty much unable to see without them. So
Right.
that is a big one, and air conditioning.
Oh, yeah. I totally understand that.
Yes.
My
I
goodness.
say,
Yeah.
yep, I love me a good 68-degree house.
All righty. If you could learn to do anything, what would you choose?
Oof. I think
Making sushi, maybe.
yes, making sushi. I think learning languages. I mean, there's not any like particular one. I think for me, Spanish would be amazing just because there's so many Spanish speakers out in the world, and it'd be so nice to be able to communicate 100%. And then back at home, a lot of our church community is they all are fluent in their first language is Spanish, and so communication with them would be so much easier. But then we also have my husband's tribal language of Igbo that I would love to learn. So I think just learning
Mhm.
as many languages as possible, I guess.
Very
Yeah,
cool.
one thing.
Very cool.
Yes.
All right. So this, I don't know if we should have this on our list of questions because moms don't get 30 minutes of free time. But if you ever happened upon 30 minutes of free time, what would you do?
I love to read.
Oh,
I, yeah, I kind of, didn't have a breeding time for a long time, but and the end of 2024, I said, okay, for 2025, I'm finally, getting our library card and I'm going to read as many books as possible. I did not give myself like an exact goal because that makes me a little bit,
Yeah.
anxious, and
Yeah.
take the fun out of it. I'm not enjoying it. I'm like, I need to read my fourth book for the month.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, so now luckily I'm kind of in a good place with kids' bedtimes where I put them to bed and then I do have my 30 minutes to an hour and I've read 7 books so far this year. So
Ooh, and that's much better than screens before bed. I hear. I
yes. Oh, I feel like I have slept so much better ever since
understand.
switching from, scrolling on the phone or watching my couple of episodes of a TV show to reading. I'm like, I sleep great. So,
Yeah, that's great. Yeah,
yeah.
I love that. What is a chore that you absolutely hate?
Dishes.
Yeah,
I loathe doing the dishes.
yeah.
Yeah. That is
Have
my
you convinced anybody else to do it for you?
so I do all of the cooking
Okay.
because my husband, the best way I can explain how little he knows about cooking is we were probably 2 years into our marriage and he calls me one day when I'm at work and he was trying to make himself breakfast. And he goes, okay, so
Mhm.
you know that like toast, toast? And I was like, yes. And he goes, how do you make toast?
Oh, wow.
So he does not even know how to make toast. He has, burned the ramen noodles, So I do essentially every bit of cooking in the house. And so he will do the dishes.
Oh,
Yes.
nice.
Yeah,
That sounds like a good balance. I love it.
it is.
Well, and especially in my case, I hesitate to cook or bake too much because I don't want to have to clean up the mess. And so if
Exactly.
you've got a deal set up like that, of like, okay, if I make the mess, you'll take care of that. All right.
Yes. It makes it much more inviting to actually cook because again, I do love to cook. And from what I've heard, I'm pretty decent at it. And so my husband likes to eat what I make. So I'm like, okay, well, if you want me to make these things,
Yeah.
you got to clean up
Yeah.
after it. So
Yeah.
it works.
Very good. It works.
Yep.
Alrighty, if you could meet anybody, so historically speaking, you could, even though they're dead now,
Mhm.
when you meet them, they wouldn't be dead anymore. Um, dead or even like current, modern, right now people. What person would you pick?
So this one is kind of interesting because my mom's, I'm grandma on my mom's side, I guess. My mom's dad. I
Okay.
never had the opportunity to meet him, but I don't know how to explain it without getting a little weird, but I've always just kind of felt a connection to
Okay.
him. And just heard so many amazing stories about what an amazing, father, grandfather, husband that he was, because I was very close to that great grandma. So I
Oh,
would love to meet him, and I look forward to that day because he
oh,
just
very
sounds
cool.
like, I mean, I know it's not like, a big, historical figure, but to me, he is a historical figure, in
Right.
life. So I'd say
Family history. So
yes, yes.
yeah,
So yeah,
that's
I always
neat.
felt that connection, so I'd love to meet him.
That's neat. I like focusing in kind of on a personal person. Yeah.
Yes, I say because I've always had the the mentality of like don't meet your heroes because and I just don't want to be
They might not stay a hero anymore. Is that
yes, exactly. Like if I can keep it within the family, then they'll for sure still stay a hero because,
yeah.
that's family. So,
Alrighty. Is there a goal that you are working on right now?
so kind of. So, I mean, I'm working on it, but I'm not doing great at it. So you kind of know, but I was diagnosed with lupus in January of 2023. And I have lupus is like the main health concern, but with it, I have a lot of other issues that are making it so I can't get the treatment that I need.
Mm,
And so I have been really working on trying to find just like natural ways, I guess, to combat that. So a big thing is like an anti-inflammatory diet. And so
oh,
I've been trying to work on, perfecting anti-inflammatory dishes and just getting that I know it's not so much like diet culture kind of diet, but just truly to like help myself to feel better, so that I can be more present with my family. So that's a big goal that we're kind of all working on it together. Me and my husband is very supportive, and he's like, I'll try anything, that you have to do. Like, so he is my accountability partner with it.
Nice. That's
Yeah. So working through that to then hopefully get my body to a place where I can try some of the medications that my doctor has been hesitant to, to try
right.
to do a trial with so far.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, that's neat. And thank you for being willing to share about
Yes.
having lupus. I think that sometimes that can feel a little bit vulnerable to just be open about
Mhm.
that kind of thing. So thank you for choosing vulnerability in this case.
Yes, of course.
And you never know who's going to listen and maybe be inspired by your situation, whether they personally have lupus or whether they just are struggling with their own thing and realizing, oh, maybe there's other ways to manage and that kind of thing. So,
Yes. Well, one thing with lupus is they call it like this silent, just kind of like a silent disease. You don't always, because sometimes I'm totally fine and sometimes I'm not. And I feel like that's, mental health struggles are the same way. A lot of, autoimmune diseases, a lot of diseases in general are like that. And so, like, I'm always very willing to share because even though it's, suffering in silence, I don't want anyone to have to feel that way. So I said, I'll help you so we can suffer in silence together. So it's not as much suffering.
not as silent.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, I think one of the bumper stickers that has stuck out to me over the years is recover loudly so that others don't continue whatever it is you're recovering from, right? But I think this particular bumper sticker had in mind the addiction process
Okay.
and recovering from
Oh,
addiction and how sometimes we do kind of label or put a stigma or something on somebody if we know, wait, their past included alcoholism or whatever, right? And
yeah.
so, but actually, if that person can stand up and say it's possible to overcome alcoholism, yes, it affected my life, but now it doesn't, and I can share tips or hope at least.
Which
So
is awesome. I love that.
now, would you say you are a morning person or a night owl?
I'd say 2 years ago, I was a night owl. I loved nighttime. I guess before I became a mom is more so it.
Right. Yeah.
Loved nighttime. That's when I, had my best conversations. But now I have made it a point again since the beginning of the year to wake up at 5 a.m. And so
Okay.
I wake up at 5 a.m. and whether that was reading or going on a walk, going to the gym, whatever it was. Now sometimes getting some work done between the hours of 5 to 7
Yeah.
is kind of my new schedule. So definitely morning person. I feel like I love just I like to do like my put the house to bed. So I
hmm
wake up to a clean house and it's peaceful and I love those
Yeah.
times.
Well, that's
So
beautiful.
definitely morning person.
Yeah, but it's cool that you brought in the fact that that meant you had to have something in place for your nighttime. You had to put
Mhm.
that routine. I love the concept of putting the house to bed, right?
Yes.
Going around just kind of making sure doors are locked or the table is wiped or whatever it is that again will contribute to that morning being nice and calm. So
Yes.
very
Definitely made
cool.
all the difference for me.
Yeah, I love it. And then just a throwback to your comment about reading and how that has helped you sleep better too, which I'm sure
Mhm.
makes it easier to wake up at 5.
Exactly. Yeah, because there was sometimes where I would just be awake till almost 1 a.m. I'm like, this is not healthy. This is not, again, trying to go to that goal of just getting my mind and body healthy as it can be by my own things, like getting that amount of sleep and, the early to bed, early to rise makes a man healthy, wealthy, and wise. That
Yeah,
definitely am putting that in my life this year.
but you gotta say it makes a mom healthy, wealthy.
Yes, yes, yes.
So
100%.
I I decided I needed to do better about sleeping too. And I got the song in my head, Working 9 to 5. It's a Dolly Parton song.
Uh-huh.
I don't know, it's old. It's from when I was a kid, working
Yes.
9 to
1, 2,
5,
5. Yeah.
you know? And so I just switched it. We're gonna be sleeping 9 to 5.
Oh, I love
what a way to get some good dreams, because that's what I was struggling with. I felt like I had really bad dreams.
Oh,
So,
wow.
so I try waking up at 5 a.m. too. I'm not 100%. I'm doing pretty good. I'm pretty happy with my about 80% of
Okay.
waking up at 5 a.m. But like this morning, I was laying there and I was just thinking, okay, I could get up and do my yoga, or I could lay here and try to go back to sleep. But those try to go back to sleep minutes of sleeping aren't really worth it. Like they're not
Oh.
restful and they turn into the weird dreams too. So
Well, and then
that helped me to
I have
kind
to
of
wake
like,
up again.
yeah,
That's
you
hard.
still have to wake up again. Thank
Yes.
you for that perspective too. Yeah.
Yes. It's a cycle, the vicious cycle.
Yeah.
Yep.
Alrighty. Do you have a childhood memory that makes you smile?
Oh my goodness. I feel like I have so many. I was very, very blessed with a really wonderful childhood.
Oh,
We
good.
had, big, huge yard and all. I think one of my favorite things in this, again, summer girly. I love summertime.
Yeah.
Um, some of my favorite memories is so we lived like literally right across the street from my elementary school.
Oh,
Like
fun.
from my house, you can see the entire element, like it's 5 steps away. And so during the end of the school year, basically like all of my little friends in, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth grade would come over and we had a trampoline. So we'd
Oh,
sprinkler, the one that like kind of goes like this. We'd put the, sprinkler under the trampoline and just jump around. And my mom would always make snacks. And so I think that's something that I know that's not one particular memory, but I think just knowing that like my house was the house where everyone kind of gravitated towards.
yeah.
I'm sure as a mom now, I'm like, I know my mom probably loved that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I'd say that's one of the biggest things. And then we had my grandparents, or one set of grandparents lived just right up the road. And they ran our bed and breakfast. And
Okay.
so I was, probably 10, 12 years old, and I would go and help my grandma cleaning all the bedrooms in this bed and breakfast. And it was just this cute little old fashioned, bed and breakfast. And it was just so cute. And that one-on-one time helping her. Those are some of my just randomly what popped to my mind as the happiest memories. So
That's so great. Yeah, I love that. All right. Well, we just have a couple of minutes left, and we did let you look at the 20 questions in advance. So, is there one that we haven't covered yet that you would like to before we finish up here?
I don't remember any
Okay.
particular. So if you have anyone you want to, you're curious about.
Well, let's see. Do you listen to podcasts? And if so, do you have one that you recommend?
So as we kind of discussed on Tuesday, I love true crime podcasts.
Okay.
Yes, my husband always thinks, he's like, you're a psychopath. Like I'll listen to them while I'm in the shower. And he's like, does that not scare you? I'm like, no, I just find it fascinating. So I love true crime podcasts. There's a podcast called Murder with My Husband.
Oh,
So
dear.
they're a couple, and so she is all very similar to me. She's always been into true crime, watches all the documentaries, Law and Order, all those types of shows. But her husband wants like nothing to do with it. He's like, why do you enjoy listening to these things? Like it's sad, it's scary. So kind of similar to my relationship. And so she tells him the story, and it's just really fun to hear his reactions and things. So I really like that podcast because it's more, true crime is sad and heavy, but it makes it a little bit more lighthearted. Not light,
Right,
but
right.
relatable, I guess.
That's awesome.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much. I do feel like this has given us a chance to get to know you. And therefore, hopefully, as moms consider joining as guests and knowing that you'll be their first base of touch point, they'll feel comfortable
Yes.
reaching out and getting to chat with Whitney about being a guest on Momversations. So
Yes.
we look forward to that.
Yes, definitely. Well, thank you so much.